Hi, Kent.
Hey, Lavelle, here we are again.
Yeah, good to see you. Well, we have a minute. I think when we talked as, just kind of update as chair, you mentioned you weren't sure you'd continue on in this subcommittee. So do you want to talk with the group about just leave it open for who would chair this this committee, and it doesn't have to be you, but it could be.
Yeah, this whole kind of thing, setting, recognizing a preservation month and all that is, I mean, I've been involved in these kind of things way in my deep, dark past, but since I'm chair of the commission, I'd much rather pass it off to somebody who's much more familiar with the
I think that would be a good thing to mention and try to, either before we finish the meeting or right at the beginning, somehow get a sense of who's going to organize it and who's going to lead it. And
I think that certainly Paul and Jim have of those still on have the longest history, obviously, but I don't want to pile on to either of them, but
yeah,
I think it'd be far more appropriate for one of them or someone else that's not otherwise engaged. I've been doing a lot of homework on my new role, so I still have a lot to catch up on that, and I'm looking forward to working with Elizabeth when she gets on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some point in the meeting, if you want to, hi Kathy, good to see you. Somewhere in this meeting, either at the beginning or at the end, try to address that question of who could chair the subcommittee this month, this Preservation Month subcommittee.
Yeah, and what I would like to do is just start off by saying, this is a group that's much more up to speed about this kind of activity than I am personally, and although I want to stay involved, be thinking about who should chair this going forward, and then we could decide maybe at the end of the meeting.
That sounds great. Kathy, just to catch you up, last month, or I guess that was beginning of March, Kent was nominated chair of the HPC. So yeah. So we were just saying he doesn't have to chair everything. If there's a subcommittee here and there's somebody that can chair it, then we will look to that structure from someone else with the midway here or in future meetings, whatever it is.
Okay, finally, I figured out how to run the microphone. Well, good, congratulations. Thank you for doing that, Kent. I really appreciate you stepping up for that.
Well, Paul kind of pushed me into it before I had a chance to complain. So, yeah, and I don't mind doing it. I've chaired and been leader for a lot of different things over the years. So I don't mind doing it. But this, as I told everybody, it's going to be a big learning curve. And fortunately, we have a new staff member and we can learn together.
Yeah, and it looks like I'm probably going to have a field season again this year. So I'll be around probably another month. And then my time will definitely be limited until October.
Okay.
But
did that stop last year? Did you end up being in town more last summer? No season?
Yeah. We only worked in Missoula County, and we had no volunteer crews, which is primarily my workforce. And we won't have volunteers again this year. But I think we're going to be able to work our usual space, which is it's the northern half of Idaho, all of Montana into North and South Dakota. So I think, I don't know for certain. As with everything, it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Well, remember, Kathy, all you need is internet. You can do it from your phone.
Yeah, we're having a problem figuring out how to make the hammer go.
Just as a heads up, even though this meeting hasn't officially started, it looks like it's running on YouTube. Is that right, Soraya?
Yes, we're live.
Okay. I would wonder if this is everybody.
I don't have the list. Do you?
I think there was one, it seemed like there was, well, maybe the only other person was Patrick, and he couldn't make this block of time.
Yeah, I think you're
And then
right.
Steve and Jackson didn't volunteer to be on the committee, so I think this is it for today. If you want to start organizing, Kent and I were just talking about him maybe kicking it off, and then talking about how to maybe hand the torch over to somebody else that might be interested in chairing a subcommittee. But we will be following the agenda and points at which somebody that might want to provide public comment on the agenda, et cetera, those kinds of things will be a part of this process.
Is Jim McDonald going to be part of this subcommittee?
He was just here. Where did he go?
Okay.
Yeah. I need to get up.
He's probably going to be trying to come back in again here in a minute.
Okay. I'm trying to get my agenda up. I forgot to do that, so you might have to help me along on where we are with that, Laval or Soraya.
I understand. I was just doing the same thing. I thought I had it saved on a screen, and now I can't find it either.
Yeah, I have a workstation with two screens, and I'm trying to put it up on that so that it can keep the laptop tuned just to our deliberations. Well, in any case, I can go ahead and call the meeting of the subcommittee to order. And is it necessary to call roll for something like this?
Of the group that is on the list. So I've just found the agenda also. It's
good.
Soraya, would you be calling the roll?
Yes.
And
Jim
it's
McDonald,
Yes.
Kathy Beckenhauser,
Yes.
John Shees,
Yes.
Steve Adler is absent. Kent Watson,
Here.
Lee Fredrickson,
Yes.
Paul Felicity,
Who was here?
he's muted.
Here.
Patrick Swart is absent. And Jackson Hill is absent as well.
For the benefit of this committee and for the record, at least from the last HPC meeting, this is a subcommittee, an ad hoc subcommittee that's focusing on Preservation Month planning. And Jackson Hill and Steve Adler were not intending to be a part of that subcommittee. So yeah, the committee is made up of 7 members.
Thank you, Laval. And I guess as the now chair of the commission, I will kick things off by, I guess this is the point at which we ask for any public comment related to, and it's not on our agenda. Okay, and hearing none, I still don't have my agenda up, so what does it say at this point, Laval?
Discussion items take you right into 4.1, which is Preservation Month planning. We'd also like to close out the time thinking about when you want to meet next. That would be item 4.2. So 4.1 is Preservation Month planning. We held this time open for about an hour and a half, if you need all that. And I'll hand it back to you, Kent, and others. I'll be taking notes and seeing what we can do to help.
Thank you, Laval. And as I indicated before our meeting started, when Laval and I were talking about this, I've taken on a good sized role just as the chair of the commission. I'm hoping that one of you will be able to step in and share this activity, because I don't have the history or background in doing one of these here in Missoula. So I know you, Jim, and Paul have been involved in this in the past, and I look to your help and guidance, and maybe it'd be worth kind of going over the kind of things that we've done in the past and what seems likely for properly recognizing Preservation Month going forward. This is not a silent meeting.
So I'll just jump in, and this is Paul. Just in terms of that, we certainly have done the banners in the past, which I think Jim has more information on that. We've also done the Legacy Business Awards in the past. That is an option, or we resurrect the winners from last year and pay additional recognition to them this year. I think that was suggested. The other one is the 100th year anniversary of the Wilma. I think that we have to account for that somewhere. And sometimes we do bike tours and whatnot. I don't know where the committee is on something like that. It may be a little bit late in planning to organize that kind of an effort. And there you go. That's what I recall.
Thank you, Paul. I do know that has some information on the bike tours. He's been communicating with Kalina and the other person whose name doesn't come to mind. Maybe you can bring us up to date on that, Leif.
Yeah, sure. Jim and I and Kalina and the person from the Bike and Pedestrian Board. Yeah.
I forgot her name too already.
Look it up in a second. But yeah, we all met, and she was really interested in doing some stuff related to bike tours and Preservation Month. So Jim mentioned a couple bike tours that already existed that she was going to incorporate into that. And then Unseen Missoula has a bike tour along the river, and we're gonna do, Unseen Missoula is gonna do one of those tours during Preservation Month in coordination with the Bike and Pedestrian Board. So we're gonna do at least one tour. We'll see how the tour goes, and if there's more interest in it, we might do an extra one as well. Is there anything else I missed there, Jim?
No, that's right. We've been trying to find, I don't know, Jen, is Jen on?
Sorry, no, Jen isn't here.
Okay. Do you remember, Lavelle, I asked her about our maps that we prepared for the Aj Gibson Tour and for the trolley tours that we had. One was a bicycle and one was a bus tour that we had a couple years ago. Well, one more than a couple years ago now. But anyway, I can't seem to find the copies of those maps. And I don't know, do you know if cartography still has those maps, or?
They probably do. They were made in our office, You're
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
recalling? Okay, yeah, I suspect they do. We'll look for that. I'm sorry, I'm delayed in not getting that to you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I had sent a deal to Jim, but she said she couldn't find the one. The one I really
Okay.
wanted first was the Aj Gibson Tour, but she wasn't able to find it right away. But anyway, we've done those in the past where we've had bicycle tours of Aj Gibson building, starting with downtown, going through the university neighborhood up to the campus, and hitting all the different houses and commercial buildings, university buildings and everything. And then we had a bus or a trolley tour starting with downtown and taking the trolley route from North Higgins across the bridge to Connell Avenue, and then going up through the university neighborhood and into the university and across over to Evans and back down to Bonner Park. And then at that point we stopped, but the trolley went on through to the old country club, which is of course where the golf course is there at by Dornblazer Field. And but just talking about the different buildings and the times they were built and what was along the line during those periods. So it was a pretty interesting tour. It was a period from 1910, of course, to 1935 when the trolley was disbanded or whatever. And so it shows, which buildings were there during that period. And we also then took a bus tour that went out to, of course, where Kathy's at 14th and Catlin, where the original trolley barns still exist. And that was pretty interesting. Then we went out to the fort to where it ended on that one line. They're just behind or close to BLM. They're just behind the old Forest Service fire cache. And then looked at the trolley that went from Bonner to Fort Missoula. That's been restored by the Historical Museum. So those were a couple of tours there. And then, I could say the other one, which wasn't a bicycle tour that I know we have maps on, is the Craftsman Bungalow tour that we did when we brought in that speaker from California. It was written out in Craftsman Bungalows. And that's several years ago. That's probably 10 years ago we did that or more. But it was pretty interesting to go through all the Craftsman Bungalow in the university neighborhood and on the south side there. So, and then we've had other tours like downtown here. We've had what we called the stone or material, but mostly stone materials that were used in buildings during the early years. And we had Jim Sears, a geologist from the university, and myself going to each building and talking about where the stone came from and the different types of stones that are used on the exterior and interior of the building. And that was a real popular tour for a long time there. We did it, I think, 3 times in the last 10 years, and a very popular tour, as well as just other, historical tours of the downtown.
Didn't we do the courthouse too with the 1 year?
Yeah. Well, Paul was involved in that. He, when we, just after some of the work was done, we did a tour of the courthouse and interior work and went through that whole process. And that was a good tour also, yes.
The other one we did was Moon Randolph,
No, that's
a
great.
walking tour, hiking tour of the ranch.
So Jim or Leif, in looking back at the emails with Kalina and Jesse, did you all
Yes.
meet this week after all? I see something was scheduled, and I was wondering, was there an outcome from that kind of pinpointed the best direction to go?
Yes, we talked about some different things that she's going to work into her program. And Colina's working with her and coming up with a tour of the downtown, isn't that right, Leif? And I believe that, and again, that worked out for May during Preservation Month. I think it's going to end up about 4 different tours over the month. And one of them we were trying to get is the Aj Gibson bicycle tour. You can get a hold of that map that that shows a bicycle tour through the downtown out to the university. So if we can get that map again, I have a copy of it, and I guess I can scan it, but I don't have the digital copy, so I can make. And that's what I was hoping to get from cartography.
So what should be our involvement in this? Should we be leading it or leave it up to Jesse, who's on that pedestrian bicycle board, or how's the best way to proceed?
I think Jessie was going to go ahead and put it all together for her part. I think from HPC we just need to help out if we can. There was there was one that you're going to do, right, with the downtown group on Unseen Missoula.
Yeah, so it sounds like mostly Unseen Missoula and the Jesse are going to kind of coordinate and help cross advertise these tours. But there's one that Unseen Missoula already has a bike. So these other ones that Jim was talking about are kind of ones where you would get a map and kind of do it on your own. The Unseen Missoula tour is one where I'll lead a tour that goes along the river, and it's focused on the river. And that's going to be on May 19th. And then if there's interest, we might do it the next week too. So those tours are already ready to go, and so I don't think there's anything else the HPC needs to do other than if there's ways that we can help promote them and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and then I should back up here too. Preserve Historic Missoula has been putting up the funds to put up the banners for Preservation Month, but because we like the area on the bridge and on the hip strip and even north of the bridge, because of the construction this year, the downtown MDA has decided that they probably won't put up any of those banners this year. And so Preserve Historic Missoula decided that they didn't want to fund it this year if we couldn't get those special areas for putting up the banners. But I think we need to, what we talked about the last meeting, like Paul mentioned, we need to maybe at least find a way to honor the legacy people from last year that because of COVID, we didn't have any formal event. And there were also a couple preservation awards too. I think, I know Jennifer Anthony's house on the Painted Lady got an award, and I forgot what the other one was, but we should at least acknowledge that. And then as Paul mentioned too, it'd be good to tie something in with the Wilma being 100 years old this year. Because they're going to do some special things over the year here, but I think we could tie in with that in May as part of Preservation Month and have some sort of event. The problem with that we're having is just because of COVID, we're not going to be able to have large groups yet, and like even Unseen Missoula and that it's limited to 10 people. And so, it's going to be a tough one. I think, Leif, we talked about doing a couple of the same tours where there'd be, so we'd maybe have 20 people at the most. Is that correct, with a couple tours? And just because of COVID, we really can't have big tour groups or big bicycle tours right now. So that's the unfortunate part.
So
knowing
if
all
I
that, is there an outdoor space where we could do something to honor our past winners? I know we can't have a gathering like we did at Karis before, but how far do we want to go down the path of honoring our past winners, knowing that we can't have a group celebration?
Yeah. That's the tough part right now. And it'd be nice to, like the farm,
Oh, Benson's?
Benson
Karen?
Farm, it'd have been
Yeah,
neat
Benson
to have
Farm.
an event out there, because they over 100 years that they've been around, but that's just not going to work out this year.
Would it be worth exploring something about putting up some sort of posters, or, something physical that people can read at Benson's and then put on little notices? These are our other winners, the Forest Service, the Painted Lady, la, la, la. Can we center it at Benson's Farm?
That could be, and even posters in other areas too. It might be more that type of thing. And then I don't know if we can get a special, event with, one of the TV or radio stations or whatever, and actually be able to have, 15 minutes or whatever it is, just at least to say a few things about them. I don't know. I know we have to work out Laval through Ginny, I guess, for any type of event like that. But if we put something together, do you think she'd be willing to put something together that we could get the major news people involved and at least have something?
Right. I think that there's, there's something a little different for maybe acknowledging a community activity or event versus a press release that needs to be broadcast, because there's only certain TVs that would bring that have that segment, on their channel at news. So maybe we could work with Ginny on that and create a little a block of time. It's it's far enough in advance also, if we're talking about trying to do that in May, to reserve some recognition through their community event segments of the news.
Right.
I was actually thinking that we could try to buy a display ad, but I don't think there's any more print paper, right? Is that right? I think.
The Missoulian press room shuts down after the 28th run.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we still get the papers. They just are done in Helena now. You have to get all your news in. If it's late news, at 6 o'clock is the latest they can go, so they can get it printed and back. So anything that happens after 6 o'clock in the evening, you're not going to hear till the next night. So the next day.
Well, we can buy some form of celebration ad somewhere if we want.
Yeah.
Digitally, if that's really where more people are getting their news.
And we could maybe do some with Currents too. They've been
Right.
still always looking for all sorts of things. And they tend to do a little more in-depth reporting than even the Missoulians, so in some cases.
So we're talking some form of press release to acknowledge and see who picks that up. That's the general approach that Ginny requests that we do. And then some purchase of ad in something. And then posters, and trying to get a community event spot on a television show, on a news channel.
Yeah.
And then of course the website would be updated to really focus on the month and whatever various, the multitude of ways that we're going to be working on celebrating the past awardees, the a link to some tours. Like there's some work that can be done on the website too for recognition.
And as to the website, Laval, I was just looking at it now, and there's no apparent easy way to get stuff on there. I mean, I'm not that familiar with our website yet. I'm still figuring things out. But finding a way to post something that people will actually click on, as opposed to having to scroll through lines and lines of text, is important in terms of grabbing their attention. So I trust there's a way to do that.
I think there's a front, the front aspect of that historic preservation page that we can kind of keep expanding on. And I think that I'm excited to have Elizabeth on board I think she'll have some website skills. I think it'll be kind of nice to, it won't happen like right away, but I think she'll be able to have some creative ideas to open up that idea, what you're talking about, Kent. Easy to see, engaging, yeah.
Do we have a Facebook page?
I think so. I think so.
Good to find out.
I know.
And of course, there's Instagram and YouTube and all these other forms of social media that all those people who are younger than most of us know about and click on regularly. So I think we ought to take advantage of whatever we can for that.
There is a Facebook page.
To kind of just focus on the tour ideas, it sounds like the unseen is coming together, and you may be running two of them, or at least trying to accommodate 2 blocks of time, 2 blocks of 10 through that connection, and it will get some coverage and advertisement through the Bike Ped Month as well. And then Jim, it sounds like you're wondering about the Aj Gibson Tour as another possibility. I did a little bit of scanning to try to find it. I'm not fully done yet, but I will keep looking. And if all else fails, we can make copies of what you have, or I can get somebody to make a map of what you have. Maybe that's what we did.
Okay.
Can you, did you send that map to Jen?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, because I can actually get somebody to recreate it too if we need to.
All right.
I did find the one that was the bus tour that I think went to the fort. I found that as a digital, but I haven't found, I did not find the Aj Gibson one yet.
Okay. All right.
And does that sound like that's the extent of, with capacity or whatever that you would be thinking of this year as tours go, is to try to get the Aj Gibson one going and then have the other bike tour as well? Or do you want to try to work on trolleys or?
Well, I think the Aj Gibson one would be a good one. And it's really more for people to just take a map and do it on their own if we get enough information on it. I don't think we're going to be able to actually have a bicycle tour and just have a few people. I mean, we could with just a few people, but I think it's more for people to take the map and just, go look at the buildings. And
so it'd be more of a promotion, we would want to pump it up and promote it and have the map downloadable and stuff. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what we talked with that bike group, Jessie, is that she could, put it out and on her site and make it work. So, I think the important thing is going to be just honoring those people from last year, both the legacy people, and we find some good ways to do that. And of course, we don't want to put a lot on Elizabeth right away when she starts on April 1st. So we're going to have to and say, oh, you got a month to get this all together. And so we got to be careful of that. So, yeah.
I trust we have whatever contact we had for the nomination for Benson Farms that someone could follow up with and see how they feel about doing something at their location.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But I think we could, if we got posters and stuff, just honoring him so that people, when they come out to the farm and get their vegetables, even in the fall, they'll at least have some acknowledgement there. They all got plaques last year, or certificates, I guess. But there wasn't much publicity or anything even honoring it. Press releases put out, but nobody picked it up. So it's the unfortunate way we used to be able to get, Kim or one of those people that, talked about history of Missoula, who are no longer there at the Missoulian, to just do an article and stuff, but we can't do that anymore. We have to go through the mayor's office and through Jenny Merriam in order for all press releases. So, and she just puts it out to everybody, so it isn't just one group that you send it to, like the Missoulian. It goes to everybody, and then whoever picks it up makes it work. So that's the hard part right now.
Is there any, when you were talking about Preservation Month at our HPC meeting earlier this month, I pictured, the efforts to be under the realm of recognitions, and then also if there was research. Is there some additional research aspects that you are looking for or hoping to do? Whether it maybe is related to other 100-year-old buildings, something like that.
It's probably we have a lot of good research on the Wilma, of course, and we have the nomination, and got the original drawings and things like that we, are going to be things we could put out there. I just don't know. I know that the owners, Nick, is going to do something evidently, but I don't know what that is. And I don't know if it's anything with the downtown, or that's where I heard it through, is with the downtown people originally, or the downtown association. But I don't know if there's something formal going to happen or whatever. I guess that's what we have to find out. And
and they were reaching out to the HPC to see if there was any potential synergy there. Ideas of, I think I even heard ideas of like printing labels on chocolates and giving out chocolates that have like special something on them. So like they were just wondering if there is some interest even from HPC to go do something with them.
Was that a connection with Kalina or Linda, or where was that coming from?
I don't know. That a person curious about the Wilma reached out for history, for background information. And then it just started to roll into, what they're thinking of trying to do, and to be able to celebrate it in May, which is the same time as what Preservation Month would be. So it was from somebody related to the Wilma, not really through Kalina. I don't know the relationship to the downtown.
So it might have been somebody in Nick's office then that was reaching out.
And we had an intern help provide some background material on it. And that intern also, we have on the preservation website a link to potential funds and grants resources. And she shared that with her in case they want to try to get some funding to help make the celebration bigger, you know? And that was the extent of it. I can come back with more information for you at another meeting if you'd like.
Yeah, and knowing a bit about Nick, I'm sure he would try to do something really nice and inspiring and all that kind of stuff, since he's such an entrepreneur. But we want to, you know, want to take advantage of whatever he has in mind, certainly.
In terms of the buildings, I sent Patrick I did a little research on some buildings that were built in 1921 or around then. So I don't know if he's gonna, that's something he was gonna include on the Map Missoula thing, but Paxson and Willard and Whittier were all built in 1921. There's a few other buildings that were built around that time. Although some it's not clear when exactly they were built. But in terms of the Wilma, I don't know if is Athena the person that was reaching out? Yeah, she's a photographer, and I think they're actually having my sister, who's a journalist, Erica Fredrickson, write something up about it as well. So I'm not sure who's having them do stuff. So I'm not really sure where it's all coming from exactly, but I know those people are involved with it a little bit.
Yeah, it would be certainly worth checking out, because I was actually did some work for Nick and Bozeman a couple of years ago, and although we never interacted directly, I was in direct contact with his architect at the time, and I just know that he tries to do things right and do them well, and if we can, you know, make that connection and tag on whatever he's doing or whatever, that'd be really great.
Is there somebody from this group that would like to maybe connect with Athena and see what their next steps are? I have to say, you know, we were providing information and providing resources for ideas of funding, but we were getting nervous when it started to sound like some things were getting bigger and not really sure what we could do, and not sure if there was any interest with the HPC to have celebrations versus some things that you could do online and such. So it would be great if there's somebody that wants to connect directly and represent this committee and think about, and, you know, bring that back.
I've got my hand up. I'd like to do that.
Okay.
And maybe Leif, if you can give him some background and so forth, that would be great.
Yeah, I can email you and introduce you to those folks that are involved with it.
Sounds great, Leif.
Okay.
I'll also send out the you know, a connecting email between Athena and Leif and John to both of you.
Thank you.
Do we
So
have a
there's been-
sense at this point about where things are going to be in terms of the COVID protocols by the time May rolls around? Because I was just thinking, even though they're way out at the edge of town, we talk about a wonderful setting in spring to be able to do something at Benson Farms that does what we've been talking about. It's a different sort of venue than we're normally used to, but I'm just kind of curious, does anyone have any forecast or insight on where the protocols are going to be by that time?
I do not.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be at the point where it's going to be really opened up anymore. But I mean, the events can be larger. I know that already, but it's just how you put together, make it all work. And I don't know, it's still going to be a problem, I think, by May. Probably, I mean, there's people still canceling stuff until the fall, or maybe even next year now. So it's a tough one right now until everybody gets vaccinated and know if we're going to make it or not. So yeah. It seems to be the problem. But I can tell you, as far as the son of Otto Benson, anything to do with it, and didn't even want to give us any information. But his sister Nancy was the one that said, yes, we're going to do something. So she's the one that agreed to give me as much information as she could and help put it together, and was really honored to be nominated. So anyway, it worked out. But he's the one that runs the farm, so I don't know. He may not even want to do it out there. So I don't know.
Well, and
I was
maybe we should think about if everybody got a certificate last year, if there's something we can do to help them display that certificate. And then that could be one of the tours also.
Yes.
These are all the places. And then that way we definitely avoid making a crowd.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Did we frame the certificates or did we just email them?
I don't know. Do you remember, Lavelle?
I do not know, but we can look into that. Checking with Emmy. She's been pretty good about still providing us with background. So
Yeah. She's around till June, right? So yeah. We'll get her involved.
oh yeah. So the idea of connecting legacy businesses and maybe even the award winners in some form of a tour or map would be something new, and we'd need to put a little GIS thought together for that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd have to ask each of the winners if that's something they're comfortable with. I know at least with the Forest Service, as long as people are just, if they stay out at the fort,
Right.
I think the Forest Service would be okay with that.
Yeah.
So what I'm not hearing is a nomination of new legacy businesses or new preservation awards going out this year.
Yeah, I kind of think we're
agree with that.
Yeah, kind of think we're a little bit late, and because we usually start doing that in January, and we're 1st of April.
We're playing catch up for like 2 years worth of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, is that okay with everybody? And then next year we can hopefully make this work a little bit better when things are a little easier to move around and do some things.
And of course, we'll have our new staff member well on board by then as well. So yeah, probably given the logistics and timing, that's probably the best way to go.
So is there more we want to do around the legacy building, or just try to focus in on the Wilma? Leif, thank you for looking at doing some research on the 2021s or the 1921s already, and you identified 3 of the schools, it sounds like.
Yeah, there were a few others. I don't know. There's like that like Quonset hut where Black Coffee was built in 1921 or 1922, which they might be interested in. I don't know. The Studebaker building was built sometime 1918 to 1921. that Craftsman home where it's the Center for Integrative Care was built in 1921, and the Humble Apartments were also built beginning sometime around then. So there's a few other ones, and there's a bunch of Craftsman homes in the. I mean, that might be a good tour for that reason. There's a lot of those Craftsman homes in the University District were built in that time.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly what to do with that information other than, I mean, maybe if Patrick was here, we could talk about putting it on the map, but I don't know if people have other ideas.
So my understanding with the map Missoula component is those are, what they would do is link over material that we would have on our websites. And so we need to do research, basically. You know, we need to build things out locally and then share it over. And, you know, that's a project that could have some longevity to it in terms of what else we would want on that map Missoula, you know, the idea of acknowledging 100-year-old buildings, the idea of storing HABS documents that people can see easily. That was one of the things that he meant. Those are things that would require research, staff research, or some volunteer if you can get to that material, and then building it out on our website and then linking it over.
Lavelle, do we have any monies for interns this next year?
I think so. I think that Emmy, I don't know if it would be through interns or a small professional consulting budget, you know, very small. But I can look at that, and I can look at it for the next fiscal year, if that's what you mean, like what FY22 could be like.
Well, the reason I'm asking is that the class we're doing at the university, certificate with Mike Monsos, a couple of the students, I think there's 7 students in the class, and 2 of them were looking for internships, maybe even this summer, to do some research if we had a little bit of money. I don't know, I'm not talking about, you know, lots of money or anything, but just something that could help them out a little bit. They'd be interested. And, I was also going to check with Preserve Montana too and see if we can get somebody over there too. So, but there's some interest there to do some research, and I guess what I'm thinking, if we could, you know, we wouldn't have it ready for May, but if we could do some research that would be something for later on, it'd really be helpful in doing something for next year.
So this is likely some sort of summer internships here.
Right.
It'd be after the, yeah. You know, I think, again, Emmy was great at leveraging and bringing in people that love what they're doing, and it would be often non-paid internships. And work study is another route we can go that's always a really good bang for our buck.
Right.
And I would again want to see where Elizabeth is at in terms of, you know, often first being new and then tackling, you know, taking on somebody that you're supervising would take a little time. So I think there's a few scenarios there to kind of be thinking about. But yeah, that doesn't mean that Elizabeth wouldn't also be a master at leveraging and finding, you know, ways to get a lot out of the limited resources that we have.
Hey, I'm sorry, I've got to jump off. I've got another meeting, but I did want to mention in terms of the professional consulting budget, that was one thing we were looking at, updating the historic preservation plan and potentially reaching out to someone to assist us with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I've gotta go.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
The idea is trying to build up a pot of money for being able to have some resources to put to help on preservation plan work. I think also we were continually trying to look for grant money and such, but I know we're sort of straying into some other topics, but yeah, it would be a matter of how to allocate the funds there are with the priorities that you have.
So have we exhausted what we need to talk about for today, or is there other topics that we should be opening up for discussion?
It would probably be nice to have another meeting prior to our meeting on the 7th, either the Tuesday before that, at least to see where we're at on this, and then present it at the meeting on the 7th to get other input from the other board members.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Jim. I was thinking the same thing, because that gives us 2 weeks until then, roughly. And yeah.
So
Time.
did put an ask out to Soraya in terms of just starting to look at next available meeting spots. My gut is going to say that the 7th isn't going to work because the building is used for another regularly scheduled. No, wait, that's the first Tuesday of the month, and this would be the second Tuesday of the month. Is it? 6, 7? No, it would be the first one. Yeah, I think we're going to have a conflict with being able to use the Zoom and encoder kind of stuff. Raya, do you have any sense of that? Whether the 6th is a possibility to meet again?
I'll have to check.
We could meet on Monday or something if that's easier.
Yeah, because the 6th is, we'll be having the preservation class over at our shop that day.
And Monday is the day when everything is reserved for council meeting.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You know, I mean, I would love to hold off until Elizabeth is with us, which is April 1st. But Soraya, did you already recognize that there was availability on the 31st? Do you remember? I can check an email, but that might be a possibility. That would only be 1 week from now, but.
That's fine.
We
Yeah, I
do
think
have
that's sooner
that
than.
many meetings at the end of the month, the last week of the month. That's why I suggested. But we do have 2 encoders. So if you give me a couple dates, I'll have to double check. I have to check which date is available.
So, sorry, Soraya, but you were saying that the end of the month looked a little bit better. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I recall from the doodle poll. Do you remember that we kind of were focusing on the 23rd and
The 30th.
the 30th?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 30th was one of the other pretty much.
Oh, it was a 30th was a Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
I think whichever, maybe sending out and once Soraya determines what's available, and then can set up the doodle poll, we can include both Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
Okay. So we're going to try for next week, and preference towards the end of the day like this. I don't know what works for Patrick's availability. If you'd like to get in on it, maybe a little later. I'm not really sure, but we'll give you a bunch of options or at least try it out.
He had 5 to 7 or whatever, or 6:30 or whatever it was on the poll. Patrick did, so he said he couldn't do it before 5.
So if we were to push this meeting out to right after 5? Would that be something that could work for
That's
others?
fine. Yep.
Leif, does that work for you? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll work on that. We will try not to do a doodle poll. Always get so many of those things, but we'll do an email and set up this next meeting and aim for next week.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, indeed. And I haven't seen anyone float up to the surface with their hand up to become chair of this operation.
So that was a question. I think if there's anybody who wants to can be the host in future meetings, and yeah.
Well, I can do it, whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
Jim, thank you. Yeah.
Because after that, on
Off.
the week of the 12th there, I'm gone for about 4 weeks, so I'm not going to be able to be much help after next week or the first week of May. So
I think getting stuff rolling is really important, and others can pick up the slack while you're gone. So thank you very much.
yeah,
Does that have to be like an official vote, nomination or something?
We could make it official.
this is just for the subcommittee, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
official. At least for the next meeting. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll go one meeting at a time.
Yeah.
Let
that's
it
fine.
be known that Jim has officially been selected to chair the next meeting, if not more.
All right, thank you.
I'll see, and hopefully we'll have some more information on those maps and for doing some of that. And then if John, if you can, just if Leif, you can send him the information, then he can meet with those people and find out where they're at on the Wilma. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait for Laval to send a email out, and then I'll add my sister, I think, is the only other person.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great to know. We'll create a continuity email, that will go out to you too. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so,
Anything further for the group?
no? We did it in an hour. All right.
Oh, you're muted, Kent.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you again next week then. Thank you.
All right. All right. Yeah, bye.
Thanks.